Djibouti fronts Mahmoud Youssef as its candidate for the AUC chairmanship. Kenya and Djibouti are entering a rematch of diplomacy that happened just 4 years ago. But Djibouti did not take that lightly. Djibouti decided that they will not listen to the AU and contested and challenged Kenya's candidacy at the UNSC and 2020. No one expected that Djibouti will take this matter up to the UN General Assembly. So Djibouti wrote a statement to the AU that read, "This process took place." Well, yesterday, different presidents came to Kenya to support the candidacy of Raila Odinga to become the AUC chairman. This included Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu, also Salva Kiir from South Sudan, Yoweri Museveni from Uganda, and of course William Ruto from Kenya, and Kagame and Ndayishimiye from Rwanda and Burundi respectively also sent their ministers of foreign affairs and prime minister to come and give their remarks and give their support for the Kenya's candidate Raila Odinga. Well, as that is going on, we have to understand that there are 4 candidates who are going head to head on this seat. We know that this is a reserve of the East Africa, and 4 East African countries are presenting their candidates. That includes Madagascar, Mauritius, Kenya, and Djibouti. But of interest are the 2 main contenders, that is Kenya and Djibouti. Djibouti fronts Mahmoud Youssef as its candidate for the AUC chairmanship, that is Djibouti's Minister of Foreign Affairs. And something very interesting is that Kenya and Djibouti are entering a rematch of diplomacy that happened just 4 years ago. Yes, in 2020, there was a row between Kenya and Djibouti regarding the UNSC membership. At that time, the reserve was just as it is right now. It was a time for the East African also to bring its candidature for the UNSC. The UNSC countries sit to decide on very important matters that happen across the world, where we have the Big Five and then the other 10, the P5 and the E10, the non-permanent and permanent members of the UNSC that vote on different issues, including wars that are happening across the world, the Ukraine war, the war in Gaza, and everything else. At that time, Kenya had given its interest to be part of the UNSC. Djibouti also came out and said that they also want to be part of the UNSC. Well, as per the AU resolution of 2007, the African Union will come up with 3 member states who will just be fronted after the African Union has decided to support these 3 member states. And these 3 member states are voted and agreed upon the members of the African states. They are fronted to the United Nations Security Council. Now, what happened in 2020 was that Kenya managed to get the support of the AU. That means that Kenya got the support of many African states and was voted to be among the 3 countries that will represent Africa at the UNSC. And that meant that in East Africa, Kenya will be chosen alongside other 2 nations across the continent. But Djibouti did not take that lightly. While the AU stipulates that the candidates will be presented to the UNSC without any contention, Djibouti decided that they will not listen to the AU and contested and challenged Kenya's candidacy at the UNSC and 2020. They say that Kenya did not deserve to be part of the UNSC at that time because Kenya served at the UNSC in 1977 to 1978, as well as 1997 to 1998, while Djibouti had only served in 1993 to 1994. They say that by the virtue of the fact that the selection of members has to be on a rotational basis, as well as also has to factor in the matter of frequency, that Kenya did not deserve, and Djibouti was the right candidate to be nominated by the East African region as well as the AU to the UNSC. Now, no one expected that Djibouti will take this matter up to the UN General Assembly, because just the fact that the AU has given you the mandate, it doesn't mean that you will automatically be at the UNSC. You have to be voted in by the General Assembly. So when the AU brings 3 candidates, they don't have to be voted in because these are automatically absorbed. But at that time, there was a row between Kenya and Djibouti because only one of them had to go at the UNSC. So Djibouti wrote a statement to the AU that read, "This process took place in violation of the rules and traditions of the organization." Djibouti points out that the texts provide that in the event of multiple candidacy or lack of consensus, states are chosen according to two principles, that of last rotation and that of frequency. They went further and said, "The Republic of Djibouti regards its candidacy as legitimate and that of a united Africa. Consequently, it intends to defend and promote it until they vote before the United Nations General Assembly in June 2020. So, Djibouti decided to take the matter up to the UN General Assembly, and that meant that the two countries will have to be voted in by countries across the world. At that time, Kenya went all out to seek its allies across the world, as well as Djibouti went to seek its allies to vote for each of them when push came to shove. And after the results came out, Djibouti got 78, while Kenya got 113. And that meant that they had to go for a runoff where Kenya automatically won. But this gives us the view that Djibouti now has coming into a second row with Kenya. We are in a second diplomatic contest between Kenya and Djibouti. And of course, Djibouti has not forgotten what happened in 2020 when Kenya took its place, or as they say, in the UNSC. And now they are in a row between Kenya and Djibouti regarding the AUC chairmanship. And of course, when we analyze the previous voting patterns in 2020, you will realize that Ethiopia, Sudan, and Somalia were very, very loyal to Djibouti and supported Djibouti during the time when it was against Kenya. Perhaps that is the reason why the president of Somalia did not attend yesterday's meeting. But something surprising was that Eritrea voted for Kenya. Eritrea is also a neighbor to Djibouti. Eritrea is a neighbor to Ethiopia, but decided to vote for Kenya because of the border issues that they have with Djibouti. Maybe these patterns will stand, maybe they will change, but what we know is that there is a diplomatic row between Kenya and Djibouti, and these two countries are going to fight to their last minute for one of them to be appointed as the AUC chairman.